Saturday, the 26th of February, 1966, Veer Savarkar passes into history, immortal in the eternal glow of his fiery patriotism. In Bombay, the last journey reflects the deep sorrow of a nation in mourning. The militant spirit of the 1857 War of Independence reverberates through the life of Veer Savarkar. History produces the man for the period. The nation doomed to a long period of darkness under colonial rule needed a reformer and a rebel. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, the reformist, and Vasudev Balban Phatke, the rebel, passed away in 1883. It was in that year that Vinayak Damodar Savarkar was born on 28th May at Bagul, a village near Nasik, Maharashtra. Uttering the name of Lord Ganesh, young Savarkar began his early education. The keenness he showed in his studies then never deserted him all his life. Life had its own lessons to teach at the other end. Disease and deprivation were the lot of the people, and Savarkar in his boyhood witnessed many a tragedy caused by famine and a devastating plague. Even in the midst of the gloom of such calamities, the rulers were celebrating the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria's reign in 1897. The callousness of the authorities roused the anger of the people to a flaming point. At Pune, Damodar Panchapekar assassinated the place commissioner, Mr. Ram. Other killings followed, and injustice was heaped in the name of justice. Savarkar had just turned 15 when he took a solemn pledge to dedicate his life for the freedom of his country.
माझ्या देशाचे स्वातंत्र्य परत मिळवण्यासाठी सशस्त्र क्रांतीचा केतू उभारून मारिता मारिता मरे तो झुंजेल.
To arouse the people, Savarkar composed a stirring ballad, hailing the martyrdom of the Chapekar brothers.
गोळी सुटली गडबड मिटली दुष्ट नराधमचीत पडे.
By now, Savarkar's life had taken a firm course. He was at school at Nasik, but all his activities had a set goal, the goal of independence of his motherland. Even as a schoolboy, Savarkar formed a patriotic group, which was eventually to sprout into the famed Abhinav Bharat Society. Independence was the watchword that would light the torch of liberty and wrest freedom from the imperialist crown. Burning with nationalist zeal, Savarkar came to Pune to study at Fergusson College. Staying at the college hostel, he was soon to form a group of his own to further the freedom movement. At the library, Savarkar reached out to the heritage of the land, but his religious fervor never forsook the rationalist approach. Emerging as a student leader, Savarkar widened his contacts. On important occasions, Savarkar called on Lokmanya Tilak while in Pune. In 1905, the partition of Bengal created a national issue, adding to the general unrest. To spur the people onto a greater political awareness, Savarkar, with Tilak's support, organized the Swadeshi campaign in Pune through staging a bonfire of foreign cloth. Savarkar's anti-imperialist campaign was frowned upon by his college authorities, who imposed on him a fine of 10 rupees. Savarkar was also expelled from the hostel. The close association with Tilak brought an important turn to the direction of Savarkar's life. It was Tilak's blessings and recommendation that made Pandit Shyamji Krishna Verma offer the Shivaji Scholarship to Savarkar for studying law in Britain. 9th of June, 1906, Savarkar sailed for London from Bombay. If Savarkar had not gone to London, remains a big if in the story of his life. He had to study law to learn, as he said, the accurate base from which to strike at an advantage. Lodging at India House, founded by the same person who had extended the scholarship, Savarkar studied law at Gray's Inn. In London, Savarkar formed the India Society that brought several bright minds to work for the Abhinav Bharat. Britain celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Indian Mutiny of 1857 in a Thanksgiving fashion, more so to condemn the revolt. In protest, Savarkar organized a solemn function to observe the Golden Jubilee of the Indian War of Independence and to pay homage to the martyrs. Savarkar had designed a flag of independence for India. At Savarkar's behest, the flag was unfurled by Madame Kama at the International Socialist Congress at Stuttgart. Meanwhile, India was in agony of brutal repression. The entire country was in turmoil. The nationalist press was silenced. The news of the atrocities committed by the imperialists stung the hearts of patriotic Indians abroad. Madan Lal Dhingra, a member of the Abhinav Bharat, chose to accept martyrdom by assassinating Sir Curzon Wyllie in London. That was on the 1st of July, 1909. Dhingra's last words were, "My wish is that I should be born again to the same mother, and that I should die the same death for her again." In London, Savarkar was seeking through all available sources the accurate base from which to strike at an advantage. The British libraries were better stocked with books dealing with India. The India Office Library had a vast collection of original letters, secret parliamentary papers, and confidential documents concerning Indian affairs of the times and earlier. Savarkar had gained permission to study all available material. Finally, Savarkar completed his monumental work in Marathi on the First Indian War of Independence, 1857. The book was proscribed even before it was published, a great tribute to its contents. The English translation was circulated under the guise of classic fiction. Dhingra's martyrdom resounded with a mighty echo at a Nasik theatre, where a drama was being staged in honor of the outgoing collector, A.M.T. Jackson. A young patriot, Anand Kanhare, shot dead the representative of the British Raj. The link was found, and on the 13th of March 1910 at Victoria Station, London, Savarkar was arrested on various charges, including abetting the murder of Jackson. Britain conveniently forgot that it had sheltered great revolutionaries, Mazzini, Karl Marx, Garibaldi, Kossuth, and Lenin. Savarkar was sent back to India to stand trial. The 7th of July, 1910, the ship anchors at Marseille's port. Early next morning, Savarkar finds a way of escape. But freedom is short-lived. Bombay High Court, the 15th of September, 1910. A special tribunal without a jury hears the case. Savarkar, denied the right of appeal, declines to produce any evidence in his defense. Savarkar is framed under two sets of different charges and receives a double sentence of transportation for life. In addition, his property is forfeited. The 4th of July, 1911. Savarkar is brought to Port Blair. He stands condemned to spend 50 years in the most dreaded jail of the time.
अनंतमी अनादिमी अनंतमी अवध्यमी भला मारिल रिपु जगति असा कवण जन्मला अनादिमी अट्टहास करित.
At the cellular jail, the entire yard number 7 is isolated to heighten the agony of Veer Savarkar.
अग्निदाळी मजसीना खड्ग छेदितो भिवनी मला भ्याड मृत्यू पळत सुटतो खुळारिपू तया स्वये मृत्यूच्याची भीतीने भिवू मजसिये अनादिमी अनंतमी अवध्यमी.
Savarkar is lodged in a detached cell on the 3rd floor, class 3 convict, classified as dangerous. Savarkar receives the first punishment of 6 months solitary confinement until further orders. The Delhi Darbar of 1911 brought some relief by way of release or remission to even hardened criminals. But Savarkar was still in solitary confinement. Jailer Barry kept a close and constant watch on the activities of Veer Savarkar, helpless behind bars and in fetters. All the inhuman flogging was carried on in direct view of Savarkar's cell. Those sent to the gallows were marched within Savarkar's sight to instill fear in his mind. But Savarkar kept his courage till the end. A 7-day standing handcuffs punishment was imposed on Savarkar for possessing a letter. Such cruelties were to be a common feature while Savarkar suffered imprisonment at the cellular jail. Again, a month's separate confinement. Savarkar now embarked on a glorious adventure of the mind. Poems after poems he wrote on the walls and memorized them as treasures for the future. Savarkar's refusal to work enraged the jailer, who had invented special forms of punishment and did not hesitate to treat a political prisoner as a criminal. The strain of all these sufferings of body and mind finally told on Savarkar's health. Often, he was close to death on the sick bed. But with indomitable will, he carried on. He had to see India independent. The 1st of August 1920, the death of Lokmanya Tilak plunged the nation in grief. When the news reached Andaman, Savarkar observed a total fast. All other prisoners followed his example to pay homage to a great patriot. The demand for Savarkar's release was voiced by many leaders and gained tremendous public support. At long last, on the 2nd of May, 1921, the imperialists agreed to the transfer of Savarkar from Andamans to Ratnagiri jail. Here Savarkar recalled to memory the poems he had written on the cellular jail walls.
लहान नटवी करी नटुनी खटुनी नारा नखरे वरसे वरी आ सिंधु सिंधु पर्यंता यस्य भारत भूमिका पितृभू पुण्यभूश्चैव स वै हिंदुरिति स्मृतः हाय तुझा गोड गातची गाना छळी विरह वेदना प्राण ऐका ऐका बिंदू मात्र हो वाचा विजयाच्या आल्या उभ्या 7 शतकांचा उगवे सूर जिंकिले जेच्याला अहो जिंकिले जेच्याला.
The 6th of January 1924, Savarkar is released conditionally. He shall reside in Ratnagiri and not go beyond the district limits. He will not engage himself in any political activity. The reformer's zeal in him now came to the forefront. The upliftment of Hindu society, ridden by the caste system, was an unfinished work. At the Paratvane school, Savarkar got the low caste children to sit alongside the upper caste. Savarkar set an example by asking his wife to invite women of the neighborhood and offer the traditional haldi kumkum, irrespective of any caste distinction. Temple entry was another of such programs to promote oneness among the masses. Intercaste dinners. In March 1927, Gandhiji came to Ratnagiri, the birthplace of Lokmanya Tilak. Now, opposite Tilak's home, Savarkar had his residence. Gandhiji called on Savarkar to renew their acquaintance of London days. Savarkar was granted an unconditional release. The 10th of May, 1937, 80 years to the day on which the first Indian War of Independence started. The first task was to understand the prevailing political climate in the country, even as the war clouds were gathering in Europe. Hitler unleashed the Second World War on the 3rd of September, 1939. Savarkar found a blessing in the war for Indians who now had a grand opportunity to receive military training. A war of independence was also in the mind of Subhash Chandra Bose, who was in course of time to form the Indian National Army. The Second World War compelled the sun to set in the British Empire. The goal Veer Savarkar had set himself was realized in his lifetime.